Rush Limbaugh is going to go on one of his dumbest rants of all time here, and that's hard to do because he has a lot of dumb rants. But look at who he blames for the rise of ISIS.
By the way, it's not new that liberals have been controlling college campuses and classrooms for decades now, and it's not new that they have been preaching the evils of the United States. But clearly something's happened. And I don't think there's any doubt about it. It's just common sense. You take a young bunch of skulls full of mush who think of themselves as good people. A population as large as ours, we're going to have people from all different types. We're going to have do-gooders. We're going to have nurturers. We're going to have John Wayne types. We're going to have you name it. We're going to have the emotionally fragile. We're going to have those that are guilt-laden, just at their own existence. We have enough cracked up people. By the time an artful series of liberal propagandists, professors, teachers get hold of them, they can make these people literally filled with rage and anger at their own country or make them sick and motivate them to do something. My only point is that it makes perfect sense to me, logical sense, that if you have a bunch of young skulls full of mush who don't know that they're skulls full of mush, by the way, they think they're smarter than everybody else. Certainly they think they're more sensitive than everybody else. And they are bombarded on television. They're bombarded in movies. Some of them are bombarded with lyrics and songs. You name it, how rotten the cops are, how racist this, that, or the other thing is, how mean-spirited and racist and bigoted Republicans are, or in general, what a reprobate country this one is. It stands to reason that some of those kids, after hearing it nonstop everywhere they go, and not believing when they hear people try to counter them or talk them out of it, it stands to reason people are going to sign up with ISIS thinking that they are the good guys.
So it stands to reason that because of liberal professors, ISIS gets to increase recruitment. And they get to increase recruitment from America. Now understand, what's the evidence on how many people from America have gone to join ISIS? There's single digits, right? Like 6 or 7 people, and most of them were actually young girls, like teenage girls who, for whatever reason, went over there. I know we covered a bunch of these stories on the show. And look, it is a problem in some, like in Australia, it's a bigger problem. In some places in Europe, it's a bigger problem. So I'm not poo-pooing the idea that it's a problem that some people have gone over there. But the idea that you blame liberals for it and you blame professors for it, think of the irony of what his argument is. Because he's blaming liberal professors to adding to the recruitment of ISIS, but the real people who are guilty of that are neoconservatives! You and your line of thinking, Rush Limbaugh. Now understand, that's not just opinion. I'm not just theorizing. It doesn't just stand to reason, as he says. No, these are facts. So what do I mean? Well, in 2003, the neoconservatives decided we should invade Iraq. So we invaded Iraq. We de-Baathified the government, which angered Sunnis all across the region and all in the state of Iraq. We put the Shiites in power. The Shiites repressed the Sunnis, so the Sunnis became more and more radicalized and more angry. Then when we got out of Iraq, we left the weapons behind. So you have all these weapons behind and all these angry Sunnis who are disenfranchised. There's your perfect stew, your perfect recipe, your perfect cocktail for Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Boom. Couldn't have existed, couldn't have gained power if it wasn't for George W. Bush and the invasion of Iraq. If it wasn't for us, working our way through the Middle East and the desert, killing so many civilians that we further radicalized the region, they couldn't have existed. Again, if we didn't go in there, they wouldn't exist in the form that they exist today for sure. So this idea that blame the liberal professors for ISIS. Right, the people who across the board are anti-war, anti-bigotry, anti-racism, against income inequality. Yeah, those people are somehow, now when it comes to ISIS, they're for all those things. Yeah, liberal professors are against violence unless it's ISIS beheading somebody. In that case, they say rock and roll, totally for it, go right ahead. Liberal professors hate war unless it's jihad. Then they say, oh, well, jihad, no, we're down with jihad. Sure, we want to behead people in the street. Sure, we want to kill people for smoking, as ISIS does. Sure, we're in favor of the most brutal, vicious, right-wing regime that there is, ISIS, religious theocratic regime. There's another irony right there. ISIS or what? The heart of what ISIS is, theocracy, fundamentalist right-wing theocracy. What does Rush Limbaugh favor in America? Fundamentalist right-wing Christian theocracy. Just take out Muslim, put in Christian, and Rush Limbaugh bathes in it. He loves it. And look at the false dichotomy he sets up as well. He's basically saying either you say America is right about everything or you're pro-ISIS. That's his argument. Well, Rush, have you heard of this thing called nuance? Have you heard of this thing called complexity? Have you heard of this thing called accuracy? Where you tell the truth, the harsh truths, no matter where they take you. It's so funny how conservatives always pretend like they're the party of harsh truths and they tell it like it is even when it's uncomfortable. But then when liberals do that about the war in Iraq, the war in Vietnam, about the history of American imperialism, all of a sudden it's like, stop it, it hurts my feelings when you say that. Either say America's right about everything or you're with the terrorists. So who's really emotional? You tell me.